I'm so delighted to be here. I have the opportunity to work with children and teenagers who have been abused, neglected, or juvenile delinquents, and I see them through this work, and I think, oh, what great teachers they are. I almost rejoice when they don't want to follow the rules in a way, or so many of us professionals telling them, well, you need to be this way and that way, and there's a part of me that just rejoices, thank God you're the way you are.
When counselors or teachers say, this is the way you need to be, all you're doing is parroting the same words that didn't work with their parents. That's how they got there to begin with. Someone trying to suppress the variety that is them and hammer a square peg into a round hole. And what you're seeing in their behavior that brings them to you is the rebelliousness that comes forth from that eternal nature of their being that says, I'm not going to be corralled. I'm not going to be pigeonholed. I'm not going to be limited. I'm going to be who I am. I'm not going to be your excuse to feel good. I'm not going to be your excuse to feel bad. I don't want to be anything to you. I just want you to leave me alone. I want you to leave me alone so that I can live my own life. And so, can you imagine the soothing that you would give to someone who says, well, this is my history. I was born into this horrible environment and I've got all of this and this and this. And you were to say to them, as I observe you in your now, and I feel the power and clarity and passion that is you, I can only say, where you began was a good thing. Now they're going to resist that statement initially because they've been condemned so much about where they are that then they're looking for reasons to justify where they are. In other words, when society or one person convinces you because you're now in jail or you're now in trouble or you've now broken some rule that's really big, and so someone says to you, you are a deviant in our society and you are less than you should be. And as they say that to you long enough, eventually they'll wear you down a little bit, even to maybe starting to accept it a little bit. If someone can convince you that you are less than you should be, then you will look for the reasons that caused it. So you will say, well, it was this teacher, it was this incident, it's what happened with this person, it's what my mother did or what my mother didn't do or what my father did or what my father didn't do. And what you're wanting to do is to love them so unconditionally in their now that they have no reason to stir up all of those excuses anymore. You accept who they are and adore who they are so powerfully. Absolutely. That now 99% of all of that justification has no place in the interaction that they're having with you. And now you can start on this whole new platform, you see. And you could give them the analogy. It's like the day you could say that I decided that I was going to make my bed every day. And then I thought, oh, I can't make my bed every day until I go back and make all the beds I didn't make. And you say, well, that's dumb. I can't even find all the beds I didn't make. And even if I could, I don't have time to make all of them. And why not just deal with what is right here and now from where I am? We would say to them, I want to change you not at all. I just want to know what you want, and I want to help you get to where you want to be from where you are. That's the only value that I see that I have with you, we would say to them, is helping you to become a vibrational match with what you right now have decided that you want. And once you get the hang of that, then every time you make a new decision,
I love it.
It's a piece of cake to get there.
I love it.
Yes.
I get influenced by the other professionals, and I was just the other day at a staffing, and it's almost as if a person thinks that they just say it over and over enough to the kid, they're going to get it, or if it's because it's them who's saying it. I mean, it's amazing exactly how you describe. It's the things their parents have been saying, but people keep thinking if I say it to that kid, they're going to get it.
Well, it never works, and in time, it will fall of its own economic weight. It's sort of like, if I say something to you and you don't agree, if I say it louder, it will make a difference.
Yes.
And so,
like
and
if
if I find someone with authority to say it to you, the mother will say, you tell him. You tell him. And father wants to say, well, if he didn't hear you say it, he's not going to hear me say it. And you say, well, then we'll just let the police tell him.
They want me in that position of, you be the one to tell him.
Then say to them, I'll take care of it. Because what they're really saying to you is, please help this person. Yeah. Help this person to soothe his anger so that he can be more joyful and therefore fit into society in a more comfortable way. We promise you, no one that's tuned in, tapped in, turned on is a problem. The only time they're a problem is when they are feeling smothered. You take a child who is content, and in other words, they've eaten enough and they're comfortable, and give them something to play with, and they're
fine.
Very, very happy.
Yeah.
Put a pillow over their face and they'll flail a little bit. Pinch them off from oxygen, you'll see them fight a little bit. Or try to take something away from them that's been important to them, and you'll see them start to act out. Why does it surprise you when you try to take their freedom from them, which is the thing that they are born a million times wanting more than all other things put together? Why does it surprise you that they fuss a little? And so what you may begin to convey to some of them is, I've lived what you've lived, and I don't tell you that because I'm trying to cajole you into now listening to me. I just want you to know that I understand. And maybe they'll hear you and maybe they won't. But as you begin to love them unconditionally, they'll begin to listen. We mean, take some of what they are, look with your broader eyes to see who they really are, appreciate who they really are, make lists about them before you see them and after you see them when you're not together, so that when you are together, your feeling for them is so apparent to them that they want to listen to what you have to say. And when they start indicating a willingness to listen, then you can say things like, as I look at successful people, and by that I mean rich people, yes, and I mean happy people. And sometimes they're rich and happy, but when I'm talking about the successful ones, what I really mean is the really happy people, people that are really joyful, that want to get up every day, that are eager to get into their day. Almost without exception, they had a pretty rough beginning, which turned them into a powerful rebel initially, and then they found a way to relax into their natural birthright of well-being. What's the thing you hear most often that is keeping them from what they would consider to be a perfect life? In other words, what are their complaints?
Oh, they want us out of their lives, first of all. Social services or the system who's helping them. They don't want to be told what to do at all by anybody or anything in any form or shape. They know what they want.
Now, do you agree with them or disagree with them? Do you think that they have the right to want that? Do you understand they're wanting that?
Yes, because I understand that feeling.
The reason that we're asking the question is because sitting in your position, it could go one of two ways. You could say, I wholeheartedly understand, and I want to work with you to get us out of your hair.
Yes, and
where a larger part of those in the system want to say to them, if you'd straighten up, we'll get out of your face. And there are two entirely different mindsets, because one says you've got to behave differently so that the big brother that is now watching you approves of what you're doing, while the other is saying you have inalienable rights. You were born with this passion for freedom, and I want you to know that I respect that deep, deep desire within you, because we're all born with it. Do you think you can live inside the system and understand where they're coming from too? In other words, can you be employed by the governing body that pays your wages and understand where they're coming from too?
It's harder. It's a little harder,
Why?
but it's doable.
Because your system demands your loyalty?
Yeah, and I think there's a part of me, I'm in that system because there's a part of me that believes it's the correct thing, that I'm protecting these
And you're
children.
as trapped as they are.
Mm-hmm.
Until you understand that they're right to want that freedom, then you've got nothing to give them, because the system defies the laws of the universe. But you can work within the system.
Yes.
But here's the thing that they hate.
That might be what's
Here's the
catching
thing
me,
that
yeah.
they hate so much. And here's the reason that you are there. They don't believe that you know everything. They believe that they've learned something from their life experience. But they believe that you, meaning the system, thinks that you're right and they're wrong. And they know that the only way that they're ever going to get free of you is to at least pretend that they agree with you. We think that you've been part of that mentality for so long that you are now sort of agreeing with the system too. And there's a real clash there, because what the system is saying is that there are behaviors that are appropriate and there are behaviors that are inappropriate. and that you can make a list of the appropriate ones and you can make a list of the inappropriate ones, and then you can perform them or manage them or control them. And what we've noticed as we watch those inside the system, there are more abuses of families offered by those state governing agencies even than by the families themselves. Very often there are much greater violations to the continuity of the family that's performed in the attitude of righteousness than was ever happening when the family was having their experience together. And they know that, you see. And so all that happens is these governing bodies gain their power, they convince the others that they are powerful, and then the others pretend to conform, and nothing really changes, except that they become more hateful, more frustrated, and they take it out on their kids more.
Having been part of the system for a while, I kind of agree with that. I don't see it doing anything much better. Hate to say that, but that's the system I represent and work in. But I tend to agree with that quite a bit.
So, what to do about it? So, you go to work every day and you do your best to feel good while you're there, and you do your real work in your virtual reality. So a family comes in or somebody comes in and you do whatever you need to do, and then you go home at night, and in your virtual reality you see them as free, you see them as happy, you see them as getting along, you see them as feeling better, you see them as understanding. In other words, you do your work in your virtual reality. The system is changing. In other words, little by little, behavioral sciences are changing dramatically as more and more people are finally recognizing that what they've been doing is not working at all. And there are a lot of people that are taking a new look at a lot of things. In other words, what we are about and what you are about, people are beginning to hear it. It's resonating in deep levels because the true nature of their being already understands it and knows it, you see. Good. And meanwhile, be that shining light for those people that come in. Be the one that beams back and who loves them as they are. Be the one who doesn't condemn them. Give them the jumper cables and assist them in feeling a little bit better right here and now. Good.
Okay. Thank you.
We've had a very good day together. It is great fun to come together with those like you who are consciously and deliberately beginning to choose thought. You really heard everything today that you would ever need to hear to mold your experience into what you would, from your perspective, call perfection. We do not get too excited about perfection because perfection implies finality or endedness, and there is not any of that. And we know that as quickly as you find yourself in what you think is a perfect place, more aspects will show up, which will lead you into more attraction, which will lead you into more feelings, which will lead you into more molding, which will lead you into more attraction. In other words, you never get it done. You cannot get it wrong, and you never get it done. It's always right, and there's always more to do. Sometimes we choose the other words because when we say you never get it done, you say, can I never rest? And we say, when you feel like you want to rest, what that sensation is really about is you want to release resistance. Because when there is no resistance, you never want to rest. Your 2-year-old has taught you that, surely. We make too much of all of this. You will never cease vibrating, and the universe will never cease responding to your vibration. You could have never heard any of this about law of attraction, or about science of deliberate creation, or about law of allowing. You could have just had a friend somewhere along the way who taught you about appreciation. And you could just be, for the most part, an easy appreciator. And you would know everything that you would ever need to know to live the fulfilling experience that you have intended when you came forth into this physical body. There is great love here for you. We are complete.